Hello and welcome to this exploring session, and today we are looking at Orlando Furioso by Robert Greene. Yes, another play by Robert Greene. We're making a little journey almost backwards through his oeuvre in these sessions at the moment. It is a play from towards the end of his life. I've got a stage date of around 1591, and he got a serious case of death in 1592, so he doesn't get a chance to write that much more after this. It's one of these plays where we're not quite entirely sure who it was written for, because there's a certain amount of question mark as to whether he actually tried to sell it to two different theatre companies at the same time. So there's a lot of backstory which hopefully we'll be able to unpack further down the line. This session is, as per usual, primarily about just getting our first impressions of the play, not worrying too much about its history, but throwing up questions that maybe future people can answer, maybe future versions of us who will look back at past versions of us and curse our names. And speaking of names, let's introduce you to the team. And it's a big room today, so we have in the room reading Ralph, or possibly pronounced Rafe, is
Alexandra, and when I'm not in confinement, I act professionally.
And reading the part of Orgalio is
Liza Graham, actor, singer, and Shakespearean text coach based in London.
And reading the part of Soldier, new to the group, everyone be nice, kind, and gentle, is
Richardson, actor and fight performer based in London. Hello.
And reading the part of the most exciting titled part in the play, reading the part of Man, is
Valentina, and I'm an Italian actor and voiceover artist in London.
Reading the part of the even more fabulously named Sacripant is
Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
You're a little quiet in my ear there, Dan. Just a note for the future. Reading the part of Orlando is
Hello, my name's William Sutton, and I'm an actor based in Amsterdam.
And reading the part of Brandimart is
Hi, I'm Alan Scott. I'm based in Suffolk, and I've never earned a living from acting.
Reading the part of Angelica is
Hi, I'm Pamela. I'm an Irish actor based in London, and I barely make a living professionally acting.
And reading the part of Mandricard is
Hi, I'm Liz Hill, and I'm in North Devon.
And reading the part of Rodomont is
Hi, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director based in Germany.
Reading the part of Marsilius is
Hi, I'm Veronica, and I'm based in London.
And the only actor in the group who manages to get two parts rather than just the one, reading the part of Soldan and Tom, is
David Findlay, teacher with no class, North Lancashire.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading the stage directions and or any parts that I've forgotten to give out to any of the other actors. So without further ado, we're going to crash into the play. Now, we are at the mercy, or I personally am at the mercy of the internet to some degree. This is a edition that I culled from online, and I do not have in front of me a more critical edition to be able to proof. So if there's anything that comes up, it may just simply be the vicissitudes of internet editions. We've had a little bit of that the other day with James IV, as there was a scene that made no sense because there was a bit of the text which was in the wrong place. But that scene actually was perfectly well written, and it was the one we discussed at some length, just to note for us our past selves. So without further ado, we're going to crack on with Act 1, Scene 1, and we have entering on stage Marsilius and Angelica, the Soldan, Rodomont, Mandricard, Brandimart, Orlando, and Sacripant with attendants.
Victorious princes, summoned to appear within the continent of Africa, from sevenfold Nilus to Taprobani, where fair Apollo darting forth his light plays on the seas. From Gades Islands, where stout Hercules emblazed his trophies on 2 posts of brass, to Tanais, whose swift declining floods environ rich Europa to the north, all fetched from out your courts by beauty to this coast, to seek and sue for fair Angelica. Sith none but one must have this happy prize, at which you all have levelled long your thoughts. Set each man forth his passions how he can, and let her censure make the happiest man.
The fairest flower that glories Africa, whose beauty Phoebus dares not dash with showers, over whose climate never hung a cloud, but smiling Titan lights the horizon. Egypt is mine, and there I hold my state, seated in Cairo and in Babylon. From thence the matchless beauty of Angelica, whose hue as bright as are those silver doves that wanton Venus manth upon her fist, forced me to cross and cut Atlantic seas, to oversearch the fearful ocean, where I arrived to eternize with my lance the matchless beauty of fair Angelica. Nor tilt, nor tourney, but my spear and shield, resounding on their crests and sturdy helms, topped high with plumes, like Mars' burgonet, encasing their turrets with my blade, that none so fair as fair Angelica. But leaving these such glories as they be, I love, my lord. Let that suffice for me.
Cuba, my seat, a region so enriched with savours sparkling from the smiling heavens, as those that seek for traffic to my coast, account it like that wealthy paradise from whence floweth Gihon and swift Euphrates. The earth within her bowels hath enwrapped, as in the massy storehouse of the world, millions of gold, as bright as was the shower that wanton Jove sent down to Danae. Marching from thence to manage arms abroad, I passed the triple-parted regiment that forward Saturn gave unto his sons, erecting statues of my chivalry, such and so brave as never Hercules vowed for the love of lovely Iole. But leaving these such glories as they may be, I love, my lord. Let that suffice for me.
And I, my lord, am Mandricard of Mexico, whose climate, fairer than Iberia's, seated beyond the sea of Tripoli, and richer than the plot Hesperides, or that same isle wherein Ulysses' love lulled in her lap the young Telegonus. That did but Venus tread a dainty step, so would she like the land of Mexico, as Paphos and brave Cyprus set aside, with me sweet lovely Venus would abide. From thence, mounted upon a Spanish bark, such as transported Jason to the fleece, come from the south, I furrowed Neptune's seas, northeast as far as is the frozen Rhine, leaving fair Voya, crossed up Danube, as high as Saba, whose enhancing streams cut twixt the Tartars and the Russians. There did I act as many brave attempts, as did Pirithous for his Proserpine. But leaving these such glories as they be, I love, my lord, let that suffice for me.
Bordering islands seated here in ken, whose shores are sprinkled with rich orient pearl, more bright of hue than were the marguerites that Caesar found in wealthy Albion. The sands of Tagus, all of burnished gold, made Thetis never prouder on the cliffs that overpeer the bright and golden shore than do the rubbish of my country seas. And what I dare, let's say the Portingale and Spaniard tell, who, manned with mighty fleets, came to subdue my islands to their king, filling our seas with stately argosies, carvels and megars, hulks of burden great, which Brandimart repated from his coast, and sent them home bust with little wealth. But leaving these such glories as they be, I love, my lord, let that suffice for me.
Lords of the South and princes of esteem, viceroys unto the state of Africa, I am no king, yet am princely born, descended from the royal house of France, and nephew to the mighty Charlemagne. surnamed Orlando, the County Palatine. Swift fame hath sounded to our western seas the matchless beauty of Angelica, fairer than was the nymph of Mercury, who, when bright Phoebus mounteth up his coach, and tracts Aurora in her silver steps, and sprinkles from the folding of her lap white lilies, roses, and sweet violets. Yet thus believe me, princes of the south, although my country's love, dearer than pearl or mines of gold, might well have kept me back, the sweet conversing with my king and friends, left all for love, might well have kept me back. The seas by Neptune hoisted to the heavens, whose dangerous floors might well have kept me back. The savage Moors, the anthropophagi, whose lands I passed, might well have kept me back. The doubt of entertainment in the court when I arrived might well have kept me back. But so the fame of fair Angelica stamped in my thoughts the figure of her love, as neither country, kings, or seas, or cannibals could, by despairing, keep Orlando back. I list not boasts in acts of chivalry, a humor never fitting with my mind. But come there forth the proudest champion that hath suspicion in the Palatine, and with my trusty sword Durandal, single, I'll register upon his helm what I dare do for fair Angelica. But leaving these such glories as they be, I love, my lord. Angelica herself shall speak for me.
Daughter, thou hear'st what love hath here alleged, how all these kings, by beauty summoned here, put in their pleas, for hope of diadem, of noble deeds, of wealth and chivalry, all hoping to possess Angelica. Sith fathers may hap to aim amiss, for parents' thoughts and love of step awry. Choose thou the man who best contenteth thee, and he shall wear the Afric crown next me. For trust me, daughter, like of whom thou please, thou satisfied, my thoughts shall be at ease.
Kings of the south, viceroys of Africa, Sith fathers will hang on his daughter's choice, and I, as erst Princess Andromache, seated amidst the crew of Priam's sons, have liberty to choose where best I love, must freely say, for fancy hath no fraud, that far unworthy is Angelica of such as deign to grace her with their loves. The Soldan, with his seat in Babylon, the Prince of Cuba and of Mexico, whose wealthy crowns might win a woman's will, young Brandimart, master of all the isles, where Neptune planted hath his treasury, the worst of these men of so high import as may command a greater dame than I. But fortune, or some deep inspiring fate, Venus, or else the bastard brat of Mars, whose bow commands the motions of the mind, hath sent proud love to enter such a plea, as none suits all your princely evidence, and flat commands that maugre majesty, I choose Orlando, County Palatine.
How likes Marsilius of his daughter's choice?
As fits Marsilius of his daughter's spouse.
Highly thou wrong'st us, King of Africa, to brave thy neighbour princes with disgrace, to tie thine honour to thy daughter's thoughts, whose choice is like that Greekish giglet's love that left her lord Prince Menelaus, and with a swain made scape away to Troy. What is Orlando but a straggling mate, banished for some offence by Charlemagne, skipped from his country as Anchises' son, and means, as he did to the Carthage queen, to pay her ruth and ruin for her love?
Injurious Cuba, ill it fits thy gree to wrong a stranger with discourtesy. Were't not the sacred presence of Angelica prevails with me, as Venus smiles with Mars, to set a supersedias of my wrath, soon should I teach thee what it were to brave.
And Frenchmen, were not 'gainst the law of arms in place of parley for to draw a sword, untaught companion, I would learn you know what duty longs to such a prince as he.
Then as did Hector ford Achilles' tent, trotting her coursers softly on the plains, proudly dared forth the stoutest youth of Greece. So who stands highest in his own conceit, and thinks his courage can perform the most, let him but throw his gauntlet on the ground, and I will pawn my honour to his gage. He shall ere night be met and combated.
Shame you not, princes, at this bad agree to wrong a stranger with this courtesy. Believe me, lords, my daughter hath made choice, and maugre him that thinks him most aggrieved. She shall enjoy the county palatine.
But would these princes follow my advice and enter arms as did the Greeks against Troy, nor he, nor thou shouldst have Angelica.
Let him be thought a dastard to his death, that will not sell the travails he hath passed, dearer than for a woman's fooleries. What says the mighty Mandricard?
I vow to hie me home to Mexico, to troop for myself with such a crew of men as shall so fill the downs of Africa, like to the plains of watery Thessaly, when as an eastern gale, whistling aloft, hath overspread the ground with grasshoppers. Then see, Marsilius, if the Palatine can keep his love from falling to our lots, or thou canst keep thy country free from spoil.
Why, think you, lords, with haughty menaces to dare me out within my palace gates? Or hope you to make conquest by constraint of that which never could be got by love? Pass from my court, make haste out of my land, stay not within the bounds of Marsilius' halls, lest, little brooking these unfitting braves, my collar overslip the law of arms, and I inflict revenge on such abuse.
I'll beard and brave thee in thy proper town, and here ensconce myself, despite of thee, and hold thee play till Mandricard return. What says the mighty Sultan of Egypt?
Who's muted? Soldan?
Me,
Yeah.
sorry. That when Prince Menelaus with all his mates had 10 years held their siege in Asia, folding their wraths in cinders of fair Troy, yet for their arms grew by conceit of love, their trophies were but the conquest of a girl. Then trust me, lords, I'll never manage arms for women's loves that are so quickly lost.
Tush, my lords, why stand you upon terms? Let us to our sconce, and you, my lord, to Mexico.
Aye, sirs, ensconce ye how ye can. See what we dare, and thereon set your rest.
And we're just going to pause there. It's not technically the end of the scene, but it's pretty much the end of that scene. And it would be fair to say, yeah, that ended well. There are so many things to say about this. I'm just going to open this with, I just love the fact that it's like they've been handed the same dating form, which ends with the same two lines. And Orlando's determined to be the person who gets halfway through and then says something different at the end. Orlando, king of the humble brag. I quite like. You know, you look at this scene on the page and it's just a whole load of speeches, but actually there's a lot going on here that's really quite dynamic. I really like Angelica's potentially really quite stretched out decision-making process speech. And, you know, we all know where it's going. But that's really quite nicely done. Thoughts about that scene so far and the play so far and what's been set up? Who wave at me? David, I see a hand.
You mentioned Tamburlaine earlier. This smacks of Tamburlaine. Feels like Marlowe.
Yes, there's an awful lot of people doing very Tamburlaine-y things around now. William.
But it's also the listing of the different geographical spaces that are around. That's something that's very reminiscent of the Tamburlaine plays.
Well, yeah, it was very much Tamburlaine 2, wasn't it? Where it was just this never-ending list of countries setting up the map at the end. Other thoughts? Wave. Liza.
In this scene, multiple characters reference Helen of Troy, and famously, when Helen was of marriageable age, her father called all the surrounding kings or anyone who wanted her to to come and ask. But Helen's father very wisely made everyone swear alliance beforehand and made them swear not to go to war with each other. Marsilius is maybe not quite as foresighted if he thinks everyone will just politely go away. Hell hath no fury like an incel rejected.
Alexandra.
I was just going to point out the rather obvious amazing fact that the daughter gets to choose. And that, of course, you know, the people who are there to ask her hand get angry about it, but the fact that her father supports her choice, you know, she says, I choose Orlando, and they go, are you happy with this? And he basically just says, yeah. And then continues to support her, and then, you know, sort of fights back against the threats. So it's not just he doesn't just flip back. It's not, you know, it doesn't go where we would expect in the contemporary context, you know, for everyone to agree that her choosing was a very stupid idea. Only 2 or 3 of the suitors do. You know, even the Sultan goes, I'm not going to deal with this.
You know, it's the way language is used as well. I mean, the suitors are not, they do all do a different kind of suit. They're very similar, but they're all doing slightly different things. And then Orlando seems to does a very deliberately different approach, which I really like as well. I mean, the repeated thing of it might have kept me back. It might have kept me back. I might have stayed for this, but you know, I kept going forward. I really like that. Other thoughts, Liz?
Yeah, I was just thinking in a modern production there could be quite a comic element about all this posturing at the beginning.
There's a lot of peacocking, isn't there?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it's almost Miss World in reverse.
Yeah. If we think that they're, well, I wouldn't go so far as making them all look like, no, I'm not going there. Okay. I was about to say something very indiscreet. Okay, I'm going to stop myself. Somebody else say something. Alexandra again.
Kings of the South, Viceroys of Africa. It seems, and that gets repeated, and I get the impression that what geography this scene sets up is that all of these other places, Cuba and Mexico and Egypt and so on, are in Africa. And my understanding of geography is slightly different.
Well, you know how these things go.
Brits have never been good at recognising where foreign is.
Well, they're going by where the cheap flights went via. That's obviously how it worked. So that's my theory. Any final thoughts before we finish the scene? Because there's more business to go. I would like to push forward. Okay. So basically everybody exits apart from Sacripant and his man. So let's have some dialogue from them too.
Boast not too much, Marsilius, in thyself, nor of contentment in Angelica, for Sacripant must have Angelica. And with her, Sacripant must have the crown. By hook or crook, I must and will have both. Ah, sweet revenge, incense their angry minds, till all these princes weltering in their bloods, the crown do fall to county Sacripant. Sweet are the thoughts that smother from conceit, for when I come and set me down to rest, my chair present a throne of majesty. And when I set my bonnet on my head, methinks I fit my forehead for a crown. And when I take my truncheon in my fist, a scepter then come tumbling down in my thoughts. My dreams are princely, all of diadems. Honor, methinks the title is too base. Mighty, glorious, and excellent. Aye, these, my glorious genius, sound within my mouth. These please the ear, and with a sweet applause makes me in terms co-equal with the gods. Then these, Sacripant, and none but these. And these or else make hazard of thy life. Let it suffice, I will conceal the rest. Sirrah!
My lord?
My lord? How basely was this slave brought up, that knows no titles fit for dignity, to grace his master with hyperboles? My lord? Why, the basest baron of fair Africa deserves as much. Yet, County Sacripant, must he a swain salute with name of lord? Sirrah, what thinks the emperor of my colors? Because in the field I wear both blue and red at once.
They deem, my lord, your honour lives at peace as one that's neuter in these mutinies, and covets to rest equal friends to both, neither envious to Prince Mandricard, nor wishing ill until Marsilius. That you may safely pass where'er you please, with friendly salutations from them both.
Aye, so they guess, but level far awry. For if they knew the secrets of my thoughts, mine emblem sorteth to another sense. I wear not these as one resolved to peace, but blue and red as enemy to both. Blue as hating King Marsilius, and red as in revenge to Mandricard. Foe unto both, friend only to myself, and to the crown, for that's the golden mark, which makes my thoughts dream on a diadem. Seest not thou all men presage I shall be king? Marsilius sends to me for peace. Mandricard puts off his cap 10 miles off. 2 things more, and then I cannot miss the crown.
Oh, what be those, my good lord?
First, must I get the love of fair Angelica. Now am I full of amorous conceits. Not that I doubt to have what I desire, but how I might best to mine honor woo, write, or entreat. Fie, that fitteth not. Send by ambassadors, no, that's too base. Flatly command, aye, that's for Sacripant. Say thou art Sacripant, and art in love, and who in Africa dare say the county nay? Oh, Angelica, fairer than Chloris when in all her pride bright Maia's son entrapped her in the net, wherewith Vulcan entangled the god of war.
Your honour is so far in contemplation of Angelica as you have forgot the second in attaining to the crown.
That's to be done by poison, prowess, or any means of treachery to put to death that traitorous Orlando. But who is that? This comes here, stand close.
And they retire probably a little further upstage as enters Orgalio.
I am sent on embassage to the right mighty and magnificent, alias the right proud and pontifical, the county Sacripant. For Marsilius and Orlando, knowing him to be as full of prowess as of policy, and fearing lest in leaning to the other faction he might greatly prejudice them, they seek first to hold the candle before the devil, and knowing him to be a thrasonical madcap, they have sent me, a gnathonical companion, to give him letters fit for his lips. Now, sir, knowing his astronomical humours as one that gazeth so high at the stars as he never looketh on the pavement in the streets, but whist, lupus est in fabula.
Sirrah, thou that rumourest to thyself a catalogue of privy conspiracies, what art thou?
God save your majesty.
My majesty. Come hither, my well-nutrimented knave. Whom takest me to be?
The mighty Mandricard of Mexico.
I hold these salutations as ominous. For saluting me by that which I am not, he presageth what I shall be. For so did the Lacedaemonians by Agathocles, for of a base potter wore the kingly diadem. But why deemest thou me to be the mighty Mandricard of Mexico?
Marry, sir.
Stay there. Were thou never in France?
Yes, if it please your majesty.
So it seems, for there they salute their king by name of Sir, Monsieur. But forward.
Such sparks of peerless majesty from those looks flame like lightning from the east, as either Mandricard or some greater prince.
Methinks these salutations make my thoughts to be heroical. But say, to whom art thou sent?
To the county Sacripant.
Why? I am he.
It pleaseth your majesty to jest.
Whate'er I seem, I tell thee, I am he.
Then may it please your honor, the Emperor Marsilius, together with his daughter Angelica and Orlando, entreateth your excellency to dine with them.
Is Angelica there?
There, my good lord.
Sirrah.
My lord?
Villain, Angelica sends for me. See that thou entertain that happy messenger and bring him in with thee.
And they exit. And so many questions about this scene. Is it fair to say that Orlando and Marsilius have sent a fool to defuse an idiot? Is that a fair description of what's happening with Orgalio? Am I wide of the mark of what's going on there? Liza has hands waved.
I would say that I don't know if I mean Orgalio is definitely a fool with a capital F, but I think Orgalio is a fool artificial rather than a fool natural.
Yes, that's what I mean. They've sent the fool to sort out the overweening idiot.
Yeah. And the whole the whole mistaken identity thing is I think Orgalio having a play rather than Orgalio being genuinely mistaken.
Yeah.
And at least I hope he gets a good dinner out of it. There's the only thing I would note is that for Greene, Orgalio's initial monologue is very Lily.
Well, it's interesting with Sacripant has a moment for those who were here last week where that speech where he suddenly sort of breaks in different directions is very like the King of Scots last week. So there's interesting sort of throwbacks and things that are sort of dancing around. He's really into his county, isn't he? He's really proud of that, isn't he? It's a signifier that he's really up on. Other thoughts in the room? No? Fun comic business. I mean, it's a question of tone with Sacripant. How much of a threat do we think he is? Valentina, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was thinking that there's definitely possibilities for comedy in between the Sacripant and the man. Because the man does, like, first of all, like, he always gets cold, but he seems to be there from the beginning. And then, like, he doesn't really seem to, like, give a toss what, like, his master thinks. It's just kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do this. But yeah, it's like some dry humor there.
Where it's like Sacripant's doing his long speech at the beginning, of the man's just at the back looking at his watch, just sort of, any minute now, Because Sacripant finishes really abruptly, isn't it? Like, that's enough of that speech. I'll conceal the rest. You know, I've done X amount of speech. That's enough now. Dan, how did you feel about being Sacripant?
I have to say that playing the King of Scots, doing that speech last week really did prepare me well for this one. And I think also in comparison with James IV, you can absolutely play two different tones with it. Because if you want to set this up as a silly comedy almost, he can be very much of a mustache twirling villain. But if you play him more straight, which is what I was trying to do there, I still think it could be very funny, actually. Because everyone sees where this is going. You've got this full servant who could sort of just play off of him and be the comic relief when he's being deadly serious about this whole thing.
Because there's something potentially quite pathetic about Paul Sacripant. You know, he has such delusions of adequacy, and you don't get the impression that I don't get the impression he's going to do any harm to anyone except himself. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. Other thoughts before we move on? Okay, we're going to go into a different scene, scene 2. A lot happened in that first scene. So enter Orlando, the Duke of Aquitain, the County Roussillon, with soldiers. Most of those don't say a damn thing. So I think. So let's see where this goes.
Princes of France, the sparkling light of fame, whose glories brighter than the burnished gates from whence Latona's lordly sun doth march, when mounted on his coach tinselled with flames, he triumphs in the beauty of the heavens. This is the place where Rodomont lies hid. Here lies he, like the thief of Thessaly, which scuds abroad and searcheth for his prey, and being gotten, straight he gallops home, as one that dares not break a spear in field. But trust me, princes, I have girt his fort, and I will sack it, or on this castle wall I'll write my resolution with my blood. Therefore, drum, sound a parle.
Who is it that troubleth our sleeps?
Why, sluggard, seest thou not Lycaon's son, the hardy plough-swain unto mighty Jove, hath traced his silver furrows in the heavens, and turning home his overwatched team, gives leave unto Apollo's chariot? I tell thee, sluggard, sleep is far unfit for such as still have hammering in their heads, but only hope of honor and revenge. These called me forth to rouse thy master up. Tell him from me, false coward as he is, that Orlando, the county palatine, is come this morning with a band of French to play him hunts up with a point of war. I'll be his minstrel with my drum and fife. Bid him come forth and dance it if he dare. Let fortune throw her favors where she list.
Frenchman, between half sleeping and awake, although the misty veil strained over Cynthia hinders my sight from noting all thy crew, yet, for I know thee, and thy straggling grooms can in conceit build castles in the sky, but in your actions, like the stammering Greek, which breathes his courage bootless in the air, I wish thee well, Orlando. Get thee gone. Say that a sentinel did suffer thee, for if the round or court of guard should hear thou or thy men were braying at the walls, Charles's wealth, the wealth of all his western mines, found in the mountains of Transalpine France, might not pay ransom to the king for thee.
Brave sentinel, if nature hath enchased a sympathy of courage to thy tale, and like the champion of Andromache, thou or thy master dare come out of the gates, maugre the watch, the round or court of guard, I will attend to abide the coward here. If not, but still the craven sleeps secure, pitching his guard within a trench of stones, tell him his walls shall serve him for no proof. But as the son of Sutton, Saturn in his wrath, pashed all the mountains at Typhoeus' head, and topsy-turvy turned the bottom up, so shall the castle of proud Rodomont. And so, brave lords of France, let's to fight.
And thus ends that scene. So suddenly a very different universe appearing, or shall we say an extension. What's going on there? Someone talk to me about this scene. So I missed the stage direction because I was a bit discombobulated for a moment. So there was a parley sounded before the soldier came up on the walls.
Sorry, I jumped in there.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I was a bit distracted myself because I realised I have a blank page, which I've just now been finding, so I will be giving some people extra parts in a second. Thoughts about that scene? Wave at me. Someone new who soldier. How's your soldiering? How's it for you?
It's. I mean, the first thing that pops into my head, because they're French, is the whole Monty Python Soldiers on the Wall.
Yes.
Because it's very much like, okay, what are you going to do down there? We're up here. We're all right. Go away, little man. That's what it feels like.
Other thoughts? Orlando seems a brave chap.
He's very confident, isn't he?
Mm.
He talks a good fight.
Right? But he wants to prove it as well. I mean, he's not just talking. He's saying, come on down if you think you're hard enough.
Mm.
I'm going to have you. I'll have you.
Well,
Liza, yes.
It's important for Orlando being the hero that he offer the town mercy before he presumably wades in there and lops some heads. And And this was pretty standard practice when besieging towns at that time, but also playwrights love it. Think of Henry V. No, wait, don't think of him. Don't think of him at all.
We could. I'm fairly certain that's in the 5 famous victories of Henry V. I don't see a problem with any of that. Tamburlaine does it quite a lot as well.
Or not.
Or not. No, he does. He offers. He's got a color coding system.
That's true. Color coding.
Well, it was standard practice at the time that if the town surrendered, they would be spared a sack. But if the town subjected the army to having to fight and lose people, then they would get sacked if they were taken.
I mean, that's the thing, again, going back to Tamburlaine, just the weariness of going, you're not going to make us fight you, are you? Oh, God. Again, just surrender. Alexandra.
I love how educated the soldier is.
Yeah.
I've read you cutting out, Alexandra. Start that again.
He's just, random soldier number 27. But he goes, he sort of retorts with, because on paper he's sort of, random soldier number 27. But what he does is he goes, I take your Greek mythological references and I throw them back in your face and veilingly call him an ass as well. Thou, if we should hear thou or thy men were braying at the walls.
Yeah.
He's so I don't know what the word is better than educated in his response.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm going to ask us to move forward. I'm going to say to read Aquitain. Alan, could you read Aquitain in the coming up scene, please? Surely. It's a very short scene to join with Orlando. So, scene 3 of this act. There are alarums. Rodomont and Brandimart fly. Enter Orlando with Rodomont's coat.
The fox escaped, but here's his case. I missed him near. 'Twas time for him to trudge.
Enter the Duke of Aquitain.
How now, my lord of Aquitain?
My lord, the court of guard is put unto the sword, and all the watch that thought themselves so sure, so that not one within the castle breathes.
Come then, let's post a man to find out Rodomont, and then in triumph march unto Marsilius.
And they exit. That's the end of that scene. We move into another scene that follows on swiftly afterwards. I'm going to ask Alexandra if you can read Medor, please. And this claims to be Act 2, though whether this originally was structured with acts, I am not sure at this time. So we'll go into the next scene. Enter Medor and Angelica.
I marvel, Medor, what my father means to enter league with County Sacripant.
Madam, the king your father's wise enough. He knows the county like to Cassius, sits sadly dumping, aiming Caesar's death, yet crying Ave to his majesty. But madam, mark a while, and you shall see your father shake him off from secrecy.
So much I guess, for when he willed I should give entertainment to the doting earl, his speech was ended with a frowning smile.
Madam, see where he comes, I will be gone.
And exit Medor. Enter Sacripant and his man.
How fares my fair Angelica?
Well, that my lord so friendly is in league, as honour wills him with Marsilius.
Angelica, shall I have a word or two with thee?
What pleaseth my lord for to command?
Then know, my love, I cannot paint my grief, nor tell a tale of Venus and her son reporting such a catalogue of toys. It fits not Sacripant to be effeminate. Only give leave, my fair Angelica, to say the county is in love with me.
Pardon, my lord, my loves are overpast. So firmly is Orlando printed in my thoughts, as love hath left no place for any else.
Why, overweening damsel, seest thou not thy lawless love unto the straggling mates hath filled our Afric regions full of blood? And wilt thou still persever in thy love? Tush, leave the Palatine and go with me.
Brave county, no. Where sacred love unites, the knot of Gordian at the shrine of Jove was never half so hard or intricate as be the bands which lovely Venus ties. Sweet is my love, and for I love my lord, seek not, unless, as Alexandra did, to cut the plough swain's traces with thy sword, or slice the tender fillets of my life. For else, my lord, Orlando must be mine.
Stand I on love, stoop I to Venus's lore, that never yet did fear the god of war? Shall men report that county Sacripant had lovers' pains for pining passions? Shall such a siren offer me more wrong than they did to the prince of Ithaca? No, as he his ears, so county stop thine eye. Go to your needle, lady, and your clouts. Go to such milk sops as are fit for love. I will employ my busy brains for war.
Let not, my lord, denial breed offence. Love doth allow her favours but to one, nor can there sit within the sacred shrine of Venus more than one installed heart. Orlando is the gentleman I love, and more than he may not enjoy my love.
Damsel, be gone. Fancy hath taken leave. Where I took hurt, there have I healed myself, as those that with Achilles' lance were wounded. Fetcheth help at self-same's pointed spear. Beauty can brave, and beauty hath repulse. And beauty, get you gone to your Orlando.
And exit Angelica.
My lord, hath love amated him whose thoughts have ever been heroical and brave? Stand you in dumps like to the Myrmidon trapped in the tresses of Polyxena, who amid the glory of his chivalry sat daunted with the maid of Asia?
Thinkest thou my thoughts are lunacies of love? No, they are brands fired in Pluto's forge, where sits Tisiphone tempering in flames, those torches that do set on fire revenge. I loved the dame, but braved by her repulse, hate calls me on to quittance all my ills, which first must come by offering prejudice unto Orlando, her beloved love.
Oh, how may that be brought to pass, my lord?
Thus, thou seest that Medor and Angelica are still so secret in their private walks, as that they trace the shady lawns and thickest shadowed groves, which well may breed suspicion of some love. Now, than the French known nation under heaven is sooner touched with sting of jealousy.
And what of that, my lord?
Hard by, for solace in a secret grove, the county once a day fails not to walk. There solemnly he ruminates his love. Upon those shrubs that compass in the spring, and on those trees that border in those walks, I'll slyly have engraven on every bark the names of Medor and Angelica. Hard by, I'll have some rondelets hung up, wherein shall be some posies of their loves, frighted so full of fiery passions, as that the county shall perceive by proof Medor hath won his fair Angelica.
Is this all, my lord?
No, for thou like to a shepherd shall be clothed with staff and bottle like some country swain that tends his flocks feeding upon these downs. There, see thou buzz in the county's ears that thou hast often seen within these woods, base Medor sporting with Angelica. And when he hears a shepherd's simple tale, he will not think 'tis feigned, then either a madding mood will end his love, or worse, betide him through fond jealousy.
Excellent, my lord. See how I will play the shepherd.
And mark thou how I play the carver. Therefore, be gone, and make thee ready straight.
And exit his man. In the meantime, Sacripant is doing some whittling and some tree, a bit of pruning, hanging up on the roundelays on the trees, and then he goes out. How long that goes on for, goodness only knows. We're going to pause mid-scene before his man comes back dressed as a shepherd, which I'm sure is going to be great fun. Man who still has no name at all. He's just man, who gets some of the best lines in many ways, even though the one-liners are just, "Is this all, my lord?" I think is wonderful economy. Sacripant doesn't take rejection well, does he? Ooh, that was painful. That was painful. Especially as we've got this sort of love and war dynamic going on. We've just had this sort of sudden martial action. Orlando seemingly, winning and doing well and outdoing his martially things, and then we straight back to the love plot. And man, that's that. I mean, at least he's honest. At least he just goes up and says, "I love you," and yeah. But sorry, Claire, you're waving.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking I think there's got to be something about Orlando that looks distinctly unheroic, because everyone seems to take offense at him from the start, and the soldier doesn't believe that he can take on, he can't see his army, but he's like, yeah, go away. But he completely obliterates them. So I think there's got to be something about him that's just not stereotypical hero-like in his image.
Yeah,
but
David.
Also,
sorry, go carry on, Claire. Sorry.
Sorry, with the man and Sacripant, in my head, I've just got Blackadder and Baldric. Those voices, but obviously the intellect is switched the other way around.
David, now.
I was going to say, is that because he is not a king? He's the only one who's not actually a king.
It's an interesting class thing, because they're both, in a sense, if they're both they're both counties, because Sacripant is going on and on about his county. But if they're on a similar status, and yet Sacripant doesn't get anywhere, and Orlando does, so there is something about Orlando, perhaps. David again, then Alexandra.
I noticed a nice line in there. He knows the county, like to Cassius, sits sadly dumping.
Yes, modern thoughts on that. Slightly misinterpreting it, but yes, he's in the dumps. Alexandra.
I just wanted to point out that there's a difference between a standard count and a county palatine that I think was the case in Greene's time, that maybe wouldn't have actually been the case at the time of the writing of Orlando, of the original story, or indeed where it's set. But yes, a county palatine, or the county palatine, was almost a king at certain points in history, whereas a standard count was, several levels below. So it is interesting that, as you pointed out, that they both kind of refer to themselves by their titles so much more than the kings do. But I think that might be deliberate, because Sacripant is sort of in the audience's mind trying to place himself on an equal level to Orlando. But we know that Orlando, being a county palatine, is significantly higher. Yes, I think there might be that sort of dynamic.
Yeah, you get the impression that Orlando is not short of cash, where you don't get the impression of Sacripant has that much going on. Valentina.
Yeah, sorry. Just to connecting to what Claire was saying, is that for me this play is much more like commedia dell'arte archetypical, as in like you can recognize the both the characters, but also like the archetypes to the characters. And Orlando would have been a lover and not a soldier or a captain. That's why everybody just goes like.
And yet, and yet it's a disguise, and it turns out he's brilliant at war too. He's just good at everything. Isn't that annoying?
Exactly.
Isn't that annoying when you meet someone who's good at everything?
Yeah.
Just want to trip him up. Liza.
Well, in Commedia, the Capitano is Sacripant. He's the one who boasts of his skill in war, but is actually crap at it when it comes to it. I also what Alexandra was saying earlier about the title of county is absolutely completely true, and but also I think that the references to Orlando and Sacripant are probably both it sounds more impressive than count, because in real life it is, but also probably phonetic English renderings of Italian conte.
Yeah, I think we're here in county, and anyone based in England, that sounds deeply unimpressive, because of the homophone on that. It's not what they're saying, and that's something perhaps for production we need to think about. The scene isn't over. The scene isn't over. Hold your thoughts if you've got any, because whilst Sacripant is doing whatever he's doing to the trees, his man has whatever he's doing takes long enough for the man to return attired as a shepherd. So re-enter man as shepherd.
Thus, all alone and like a shepherd swain, as Paris, when Enon loved him well, forgot he was the son of Priamus, all clad in grey, sat piping on a reed. So I, transformed to this country shape, haunting these groves to work my master's will, to plague the Palatine with jealousy, and to conceit him with some deep extreme. Here comes the man unto his wonted walk.
And enter Orlando and Orgalio.
Orgalio, go see a sentinel be placed, and bid the soldiers keep a court of guard. So to hold watch till secret here alone, I meditate upon the thoughts of love.
I will, my lord.
Exit Orgalio.
Fair queen of love, thou mistress of delight, thou gladsome lamp that waitst on Phoebe's train, spreading thy kindness through the jarring orbs, that in their union praise thy lasting powers, thou that hast stayed the fiery Flanagan's course, and madest the coachman of the glorious Wain to droop in view of Daphne's excellence, fair pride of morn, sweet beauty of the even, look on Orlando languishing in love. Sweet solitary groves, whereas the nymphs with pleasance laugh to see the satyrs play, witness Orlando's faith unto his love. Treads she these lawns? Kind Flora, boast thy pride. Seeks she for shade? Spread cedars for her sake. Fair Flora, make her couch amidst thy flowers. Sweet crystal springs, wash she with roses when she longs to drink. Ah, thought, my heaven, heaven that knows my thought. Smile, joy in her that my content hath wrought.
The heaven of love is but a pleasant hell, where none but foolish wise imprisoned dwell.
Orlando, what contrarious thoughts be these that flock with doubtful motions in thy mind? Heaven smiles, and trees do boast their summer pride. What? Venus writes her triumphs here beside?
Yet when thine eye hath seen, thy heart shall rue the tragic chance that shortly shall ensue.
Angelica. Huh, sweet and heavenly name. Life to my life and essence to my joy. But soft, this Gordian knot together co-unites a Medor partner in her peerless love? Unkind. Will she bend her thoughts to change? Her name, her writing? Ah, foolish and unkind. No name of hers, unless the brooks relent to hear her name, and Rhodanus vouchsafe to raise his moistened locks from out the reeds, flow with calm alongst his turning bounds. No name of hers, unless a zephyr blow her dignities alongst Ardenia woods, where all the world for wonders do await. And yet her name, for why Angelica? But mixed with Medor? Not Angelica. Only by me was loved Angelica. Only for me must live Angelica. I find her drift. Perhaps the modest pledge of my content hath with a secret smile and sweet disguise restrained her fancy thus, figuring Orlando under Medor's name. Fine drift, fair nymph. Orlando hopes no less.
Having only seen one roundelay so far, he now sees the rest of them.
Yet more? Are muses masking in these trees, framing their ditties in conceited lines, making a goddess in despite of me that have no other but Angelica?
Poor hapless men, these thoughts contain thy hell.
Angelica is lady of his heart. Angelica is substance of his joy. Angelica is medicine of his smart. Angelica hath healed his annoy. Hey, false Angelica. What have we more? Let groves, let rocks, let woods, let watery springs, the cedar, cypress, laurel, and the pine, joy in the notes of love that Medor sings, of those sweet looks, Angelica, of thine. Then Medor and Angelica take delight early at morn, at noon, at evening, at night. What dares Medor court my Venus? What may Orlando deem? Etna, forsake the bounds of Sicily, for now in me thy restless flames appear. Refused? Contemned? Disdained? What worse than these? Orgalio!
And re-enter Orgalio, presumably at speed.
Boy.
Muted.
My lord.
Boy. View these trees carved with true love knots, the inscription, Medor and Angelica, and read these verses hung up of their loves. Now, tell me, boy, what dost thou think?
By my troth, lord, I think Angelica is a woman.
And what of that?
Therefore, unconstant, mutable, having their loves hanging in their eyelids, that as they are got with a look, so they are lost again with a wink. But here's a shepherd, it may be he can tell us news.
What messenger hath Ate sent abroad with idle looks to listen to my laments? Sirrah, who wronged happy nature so to spoil these trees with this Angelica? Yet in her name, Orlando, they are blessed.
I am a shepherd swain, thou wandering knight, that watch my flocks, not one that follow love.
As follow love. Why darest thou dispraise my heaven, or once disgrace or prejudice her name? Is not Angelica the queen of love, decked with the compound wreath of Adon's love flowers? She is. Then speak, thou peasant, what is he that dares attempt to court my queen of love? Or I shall send thy soul to Charon's charge.
Brave knight, since fear of death enforceth still to greater minds submissions and relent, know that this Medor, whose unhappy name is mixed with the fair Angelica's, is even that Medor that enjoys her love. Yon cave bears witness of their kind content. Your meadows talk the actions of their joy. Our shepherds in their songs of solace sing, Angelica doth none but Medor love.
Angelica doth none but Medor love? Shall Medor then possess Orlando's love? Dainty and gladsome beams of my delight, delicious brows, why smile your heavens for those that, wounding you, prove poor Orlando's foes? Lend me your plaints, you sweet Arcadian nymphs, that want to sing your new departed loves. Thou weeping flood, leave Orpheus wail for me, and Titan's nieces gather all in one those fluent springs of your lamenting tears, and let them stream along my faintful looks.
Now is the fire late smothered in suspect kindled and burns within his angry breast. Now have I done the will of Sacripant.
Fulmineum servile genus, crudele superbum. This courteous woman, nature's fairest ill, the woe of man that first created curse, base female sex, sprung from black Ate's loins, proud, disdainful, cruel, and unjust, whose words are shaded with enchanting wiles, worse than Medusa mateth all our minds, and in their hearts sits shameless treachery, turning a truthless, vile circumference. Oh, could my fury paint their furies forth, for hell's no hell compared to their hearts. Two simple devils to conceal their arts, born to be plagues into the thoughts of men, brought for eternal pestilence to the world. Oh, femminile ingegno, di tutti i mali seri, come ti volghi e muti facilmente, contrario raggetti proprio della fere. O infelici, o miser che ti credi, importuni, superbi, despettosi, privi d'amor, di ferie, di concilio, temerari, crudeli, inique, ingrati, per pestilenzia eterna al mondo nate. Villain, what art thou that followest me?
Alas, my lord, I am your servant, Orgalio.
No, villain, thou art Medor that ranst away with Angelica.
No, by my troth, my lord, I am Orgalio. Ask all these people else.
Art thou Orgalio? Tell me where Medor is.
My lord, look where he sits.
What? Sits he here and braves me too?
Man?
Not truly, sir. I am not he.
Yes, villain.
And draws him in by the leg.
Help! Help, my lord of Aquitain!
Enter the Duke of Aquitain and soldiers.
Oh, my lord of Aquitain, the Count Orlando is run mad, and taking of a shepherd by the heels, rends him as one would tear a lark. See, where he comes with a leg on his neck.
Re-enter Orlando with a leg.
Villain, provide me straight with a lion's skin. Thou seest I am now mighty Hercules. Look where my massy club upon my neck. I must to hell to fight with Cerberus and find out Medor there, or else I die. You that are the rest, get you quickly away. Provide ye horses all of burnished gold, saddles of cork, because I'll have them light. For Charlemagne the Great is up in arms, and Arthur with a crew of Britons comes to seek for Medor and Angelica.
And he beateth them all with the wet end, and they all exit. I'm going to pause there. Yeah, I was going to pause earlier and just ask everyone if they thought they knew where this scene was going.
Well, the title's a bit of a giveaway, right?
Well, then he goes mad. He doesn't say he's going to rip somebody's leg off.
And slap him around with a wet end. It's like, what the heck?
You're slapping them around with the leg.
Yeah.
What the heck?
There's lots of. I love the idea that Orlando sets up a guard so that he can think about love. That he's that kind of guy. He's very even, until this desperately clever plot outwits his brain. It's a real journey. I love the Orgalio line. Here's a shepherd. Maybe he can tell us news. Yes, of course. The world-renowned news service of shepherds, because they get I suppose because they move their flocks so far. Maybe. Yes. So I mean, as Orlando, you had a journey in that scene, which was
wow.
You had a lot to do there. That was, must have been fun.
And a chunk of Italian. I'm assuming it's Italian.
Getting some nods from Valentina. Is it Italian?
Yeah, it's Italian. Yeah, it's Italian.
Okay.
Good Italian or bad Italian?
Good Italian.
Huh?
Right?
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
It'll be a direct lift from Tasso, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Thoughts about this scene so far? There's still a bit more to go, but I think it's fair to say that Orlando is done for this act.
Yeah, it's got to recover.
Sarah?
So Liz, go Liz.
I was just wondering whether Sarah's got her T-shirt inscription. Re-enter Orlando with a leg.
I do have that one. I go through as they come up. I put them in bold, and I've got about 4 for this text so far. But yeah.
Do share. Other thought, David.
Why the Italian? I mean, he's been called French all the way through so far.
Right.
But now he goes into Italian for his madness.
Yeah, because it is an extreme mad thing. I see lots of hands waving. Dan.
Well, based on the Ariosto, because Harrington's play or long poem was based on Ariosto's long Orlando Furioso, long poem Orlando Furioso. Right. So I'm wondering if they just lifted it straight from there. One other interesting thing is this is where, if you're aware, the one sole professional actor's part starts in this scene of the part of Orlando. And the stage direction, in fact, comes with a leg, is the one sole stage direction, in fact, in manuscript there.
Nice.
Very fitting for a shirt. A t-shirt.
Yeah, one of the things we don't have time to do is actually compare this with the Q script, which is very different to the script that we have. So there's an interesting compare and contrast exercise further down the line, which we don't sadly have time to do at the moment. Other thoughts? I saw lots of hands waving. Veronica.
I think this is a big contrast from the pre-battle scene that we had earlier. Like he was almost being not taken seriously, and now he's become a very violent character filled with rage. So you can kind of understand why he won the battle. I'm assuming he won the battle, yeah. That is all.
Yes, Orlando's journey. I mean, it's interesting. He had lots of wit at the beginning, and then he becomes sort of a bit, you know, has this battle, and then he's playing the lover, and then he goes mad. Liza.
Well, Veronica and you have both put your finger here on the essential thing about Orlando, and critics tend to think that this is because he's a character in the wrong story. Orlando is Roland. He's one of Charlemagne's knights. There was a real Roland who got killed in an attack by Basques on Charlemagne's baggage train in the late 770s. There was a poem written in the 1100s where it was just basically Roland going around swinging his sword doing heroic deeds. There wasn't necessarily romance in it. He had a magic sword, he had a magic horse, he was a holy knight smiting the Saracens. The Basques were turned into Saracens for the poem, so he could smite them. And then from about the medieval era onward, they start introducing romance. And Orlando is... Orlando is not, he's not a romantic character. He's a heroic character. If you wanted to translate that into personal terms that an actor could work with, he's really good at violence and he's crap at love.
But he does such lovely love poetry and things and thoughts earlier. He goes mad. He goes mad. That's why he's violent. You know. We haven't seen him do any violence until the leg incident. You know, you rip off one leg.
We heard
Claire.
the other place.
Sorry, say again, Claire?
So you said we haven't seen him do any violence, but we did hear that he completely sacked that town before.
Yeah, but we didn't see it, you know.
No.
Propaganda.
Oh, right.
Fake news.
It's all right, I'm being flippant. Yes, Sarah.
I'm thinking perhaps he needs to just rant in Italian to work himself up to it. Maybe he does this before every battle, just goes off and has a little, rant in Italian, works himself up, goes and sacks a town, and then he calms down again. That's the first time we've seen him in the Italian phase.
Yes, okay. Well, we need to crack on. So the scene isn't over yet. Remember what's just happened, people. Orlando has beaten them all in before him, so he's forced them all off stage, except for Orgalio. At which point, enter Marsilius.
Oh my lord, Orlando!
Orlando? What of Orlando?
He, my lord, runs madding through the woods, like mad Orestes in his greatest rage. Step but aside into the bordering grove, there shall you see engraven on every tree the lawless love of Medor and Angelica. Oh, see, my lord, not any shrub but bears the cursed stamp that wrought the county's rage. If that thou beest mighty King Marsilius, for whom the county would adventure life, revenge it on the false Angelica.
Trust me, Orgalio. Theseus in his rage did never more revenge his wronged Hippolytus than I will on the false Angelica. Go to my courts, and drag me Medor forth. Tear from his breast the daring villain's heart. Next, take that base and damned adulteress. I scorn to title her with daughter's name. Put her in rags, and like some shepherdess, exile her from my kingdom presently. Delay not, good Orgalio, see it done.
Exit Orgalio. Enter a soldier with Mandricard disguised.
How now, my friend? What fellow hast thou there?
He says, my lord, that he is servant unto Mandricard.
To Mandricard? It fits me not who sway the diadem, and rule the wealthy realms of Barbary, to stain my thoughts with any cowardice. Thy master braved me to my teeth. He backed the Prince of Cuba for my foe, for which nor he nor his shall escape my hands. No, soldier, think me resolute as he.
It grieves me much that princes disagree, sith black repentance followeth afterward. But leaving that, pardon me, gracious lord.
For thou entreatest, and newly art arrived, and yet thy sword is not embrued in blood. Upon conditions I will pardon thee, that thou shalt never let thy master, Mandricard, nor any fellow soldier of the camp, that King Marsilius license thee depart. He shall not think I'm so much his friend, that he or one of his shall scape my hand.
I swear, my lord, and vow to keep my word.
Then take my banderole of red. Mine, and none but mine, shall honour thee, and safe conduct thee to poor Carthagine.
But say, my lord, if Mandricard were here, what favour should he find? Or life, or death?
I tell thee, friend, it fits not for a king to prize his wrath before his courtesy. Were Mandricard, the king of Mexico, in prison here, and crave but liberty, so little hate hangs in Marsilius's breast, as one entreaty should quite raise it out. But this concerns not thee, therefore farewell.
Thanks, and good fortune fall to such a king as covets to be counted courteous.
And exit Marsilius.
Blush, Mandricard, the honour of thy foe disgraceth thee. Thou wrongest him that wisheth thee but well. Thou bringest store of men from Mexico to battle him that scorns to injure thee, pawning his colours for thy warranties. Back to thy ships, and hie thee to thy home. Budge not a foot to aid Prince Rodomont, but friendly gratulate these favours found, and meditate on naught but to be friends.
And he exits. So yeah, it's there's some really. I wrote "whoa" at one point in that what just happened there when Marsilius just goes, yeah, obviously I must believe that completely disbelieve in my daughter's innocence, and there's just kill and nobody's going Orlando. What the f? It's just, oh no, it must be a perfectly natural reaction. That's what we would all do. Thoughts?
Sorry. Is it just that they can't believe that he could do this? I mean, because it is quite sudden.
It is.
I mean, from what we've the contrast, the journey that he's been on, from what we've seen earlier to then what we saw in the previous scene, is there an element that they just, the man that they've seen is the man that they trust, and they can't quite believe that he would go this mad without good reason? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, as opposed to just looking on Twitter and believing it.
Yeah, believing everything he reads. Yeah.
That's basically what he's done here, isn't it? Other thoughts, questions, things about staging, elements of the journey that we're on. We're at the end of the second act. How you feel? What do you feel about this play? How do you feel it's Are you still with it? Are you going with it? Are you enjoying it? Thoughts? Liz?
Well, it's quite bloody. I mean, tearing somebody's heart out. It's suddenly gone to another extreme. Although there could still be a comic element about it, I think.
Everyone does change their mind very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. But c'est grand guignol.
Well, we've talked about melodrama in the past, and melodrama, not as a pejorative term, but as a certain style where you do have sudden turns around, and you've got Mandricard who suddenly turns away from the dark side and goes, "I've been shamed into being an honourable person. I'm going to leave and never be seen again." Dan, I think.
Oh,
no, you're just moving your arms. Liza.
I mean, as a modern reader, you get frustrated because this is about men listening to other men before they listen to women. Neither Orlando nor Marsilius thinks to actually talk to Angelica about this.
That first scene's been thrown away, hasn't it?
Yeah. But wait, what was I going to say? Never mind, it's gone. I'll think of it again.
Veronica.
But maybe it also does fit with the first scene because in the sense Angelica's given her own agency. So like when a woman is given her own agency, she is more lustful and then can act on it and is prone to adultery rather than you get the opposite where the woman has her own voice and then the father thinks that she's like completely innocent. Yeah.
Yeah, they've given her a license, and this is what she's done with it.
Yeah.
David.
I feel the scope of the play has changed. It's gone from very, very grand into quite personal. You know, we've lost that scope, that grandeur, those big voices, all the geographical locations. We've all narrowed down into a story which has got really quite personal.
Yes, all those kings at the beginning have all been sort of dispatched or sort of fled. You know, they're sort of a MacGuffin, aren't they? To set up the rest of the plot. I'm going to have to move us forward. However, we've got Act 3 to get through, but Act 3 is full of lots of quite quick exchanges in dialogue, and people whose names begin with O have to really pay attention because there's a lot of back and forth between the O's in this coming up scene. So Orlando exited with leg. There's no mention of whether he's still got it with him, but we do have enter Orlando attired like a madman. That's for the costume designers out there. Attired like a madman.
Woods, trees, leaves, leaves, trees, woods, tria secunto tria. Oh, Minerva, salve, good morrow, how do you today? Tell me, sweet goddess, will Jove send Mercury to Calypso to let me go? Will he? Why, then he's a gentleman. Every hair of the head on him. But ho, Orgalio, we're at the boy.
Oh, enter Orgalio.
Here, my lord, did you call me?
No, nor namely.
Then God be with you.
And he proffers to go in.
Nay, pretty good Orgalio, stay. Canst thou not tell me what to say?
No, by my troth.
Oh, this it is. Angelica's dead.
Oh, why then she shall be buried.
But my Angelica is dead.
Why, it may be so.
But she's dead and buried.
I think so.
Nothing but I think so, and it may be so.
And starts to beat him.
Ow, ow, ow. What do you mean, my lord?
Why, shall I tell you that my love is dead, and can ye not weep for her?
Yes, my lord, I will.
Well, do so then! Orgalio!
What, my lord?
Angelica is dead.
Orgalio cries.
Poor slave. So, cry no more.
Nay, I have quickly done.
Orgalio?
My lord?
Medor's Angelica is dead.
Orgalio cries and Orlando beats him again.
Ow, ow, ow. Why do you beat me, my lord?
Why, slave? Wilt thou weep for Medor's Angelica? Thou must laugh for her.
Laugh. Yes, I'll laugh all day, and you will.
Orgalio!
My lord?
Medor's Angelica is dead. So it's well now.
Nay, this is easier than the other was.
Now, away, seek the herb moly, for I must tear to hell to seek for Medor and Angelica.
I know not the herb moly in faith.
Come, I'll lead ye to it by your ears.
Oh, 'tis here, my lord, 'tis here.
'Tis indeed. Now to Charon bid him dress his boat, for he had never such a passenger.
Shall I tell him your name?
No. Then he will be afraid and not be at home.
Exit Orgalio. Enter Tom and Ralph.
Sirrah Ralph, and thou'lt go with me, I'll let thee see the bravest madman that ever thou sawest.
Sirrah Tom, I believe 'twas he that was at our town a Sunday. I'll tell you what he did, Sirrah. He came to our house when all our folks were gone to church and there was nobody at home but I, and I was turning up the spit. And he comes in and bade me fetch him some drink. Now, I went and fetched him some, and ere I came again, by my troth, he ran away with the roast meat, skit and all, and so we had nothing but porridge to dinner.
By my troth, that was brave. But, sirrah, he did so across the boys last Sunday. And if you call him madman, he'll run after you and tickle your ribs with his flap of leather that he hath, as it passeth.
And they spy Orlando.
Oh, Tom, look where he is! Call him madman.
Madman! Madman!
What sayest thou, villain?
And he beats them.
So, now you shall both be my soldiers.
You're soldiers. We shall have a mad captain then.
You must fight against Medor.
Yes, let me alone with him for a bloody nose.
Come then, and I will give you weapons straight.
And they exit. And there's some fab comic business in there.
Nice.
You're crying for the wrong reasons. Beat, beat, beat. You can't win. And it's interesting. Orgalio was sort of presented as the comic pairing of Sacripant at the beginning, but it really hasn't panned out that way at all. Orgalio is very much there as the comic foil to go with Orlando's madness. Thoughts? Any thoughts about this before we rattle on to the end, Dan?
I just quickly checked in Q1. They actually have it spelled Rafe.
Mm. Yeah, it probably is Rafe.
Right.
But just go with how it was printed in this.
There you go. And there are no activisions or scene divisions in it.
Yeah, I assume they were entirely artificial.
Right. But Rafe and Tom are designated the clowns.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that someone's designated the clowns, because it's like there's so many of them in this play.
Yeah, it's Greene playing around with genre again. It's doing all the things. It's doing all of the things. Other thoughts before we rattle to the end, because we've got one more scene to get through before we go into extra time. No additional thoughts then? Okay, let's go into second scene. Enter Angelica like a poor woman.
Thus, causeless banished from thy native home. Here sit, Angelica, and rest a while, for to bewail the fortunes of thy love.
Enter Rodomont and Brandimart, who we haven't seen for a while, with soldiers.
This way she went, and far she cannot be.
See where she is, my lord. Speak as if you knew her not.
Fair shepherdess, for so thy sitting seems, or nymph, for less thy beauty cannot be. What, feed you sheep upon these downs?
Daughter I am unto a bordering swain that tend my flocks within these shady groves.
Fond girl, thou liest, thou art Angelica.
Aye, thou art she that wronged the Palatine.
For I am known, albeit I am disguised. Yet dare I turn the lie into thy throat? Sith thou reportest I wronged the Palatine.
Nay then, thou shalt be used according to thy deserts. Come, bring her to our tents.
But stay, what drum is this?
Indeed, for enter Orlando with a drum, Orgalio, Tom, Rafe, and others as soldiers with spits and dripping pans.
Now see, Angelica, the fruits of all your love.
Soldiers, this is the city of Great Babylon, where proud Darius was rebated from. Play but the men, and I will lay my head. We'll sack and raise it ere the sun be set.
Yea, and scratch it too. March fair, fair old frying pan.
Orgalio, knowest thou the cause of my laughter?
No, by my troth, nor no wise man else.
Ha ha ha! Why, sirrah, to think that if the enemy were fled ere we come, we'll not leave one of our own soldiers alive, for we too will kill them with our fists.
Oh, come, let's go home again. He'll set probatum est upon my headpiece anon.
No, there shall not be hurt, nor thee. Back, soldiers, look where the enemy is.
Captain, they have a woman amongst them.
And what of that?
Why, strike you down the men, then let me alone to thrust in the woman.
No, I am challenging the single fight. Sirrah, is't you challenge me to combat?
Frantic companion, lunatic and wood, get thee hence, or else I vow by heaven thy madness shall not privilege thy life.
I tell thee, villain, Medor wronged me so, sith thou art come his champion to the field. I'll learn thee know I am the Palatine.
And alarum, they fight. Orlando kills Brandimart, and all the rest fly except Angelica and Orgalio.
Look, my lord, here's one killed.
Killed him.
You, my lord, I think.
I? No, I see who killed him.
He goes to Angelica and knows her not.
Come hither, gentle sir, whose prowess hath performed such an act. Think not the courteous Palatine will hinder that thine honour hath achieved. Orgalio, fetch me a sword, that presently this squire may be dubbed a knight.
Thanks, gentle fortune, that sends me such good hap. Rather to die by him I love so dear, than live and see my lord thus lunatic.
Here, my lord.
If thou beest come of Launcelot's worthy line, welcome thou art. Kneel down, Sir Knight. Rise up, Sir Knight. Here, take this sword and hie thee to the fight.
Exit Angelica with the sword.
Now, tell me, Orgalio, what dost thou think? Will not this knight prove a valiant squire?
He cannot choose, being of your making.
But where's Angelica now?
Faith, I cannot tell.
Villain, find her out, or else the torments that Ixion feels, the rolling stone, the tub of the Bellides. Villain, wilt thou find her out?
Alas, my lord, I know not where she is.
Run to Charlemagne, spare me for no cost. Tell him, Orlando, to send for Angelica.
Faith, I'll fetch you such an Angelica as you never saw before.
Exit.
As though that Sagittarius in his pride could take brave Leda from stout Jupiter. And yet, forsooth, Medor, base Medor, durst attempt to reave Orlando of his love. Sirrah, you that are the messenger of Jove, you that can sweep it through the milk-white path that leads into the Senate house of Mars, fetch me my shield tempered of purest steel, my helm forged by the Cyclops, by Anchises' son, and see if I dare combat for Angelica.
And re-enter Orgalio with Tom. Tom is now dressed like Angelica.
Come away and take heed you laugh not.
No, I want you. But I think I'd best go back and shave my beard.
Tush, that will not be seen.
Well, will you give me the half-crown you promised me?
I doubt not of that, then.
Sirrah, didst not see me serve the fellow a fine trick when we came over a marketplace?
Why, how was that?
Why, he comes to me and said, "Gentlewoman, wilt please you take a pint or quart?" "No, gentlewoman," said I, "but your friend Dory."
Excellent. Come, see where my lord is. My lord, here is Angelica.
Oh, mass, thou sayest true, 'tis she indeed. How fares the fair Angelica?
Well, I thank you heartily.
Why, art thou not that same Angelica with brows as bright as fair Erythia, that darks Canopus with her silver hue?
Yea, forsooth.
Are not these the beauteous cheeks, wherein the lily and the native rose sit equal suited with the blushing red?
He makes a garden plot of my face.
Are not, my dear, those the radiant eyes whereout proud Phoebus flasheth out his beams?
Yes, yes, with squibs and crackers bravely.
You are Angelica?
Yes, marry, I am.
Where's your sweetheart, Medor?
Orgalio, give me 18 pence and let me go.
Speak, strumpet, speak.
Marry, sir, he is drinking a pint or a quart.
Why, strumpet, worse than Mars his truthless love, falser than faithless Cressida, Strumpet, thou shalt not scape.
And he beats him.
Come, you got me like a gentlewoman. And if I be not for you, I am for another.
Are you? That will I try.
And he beats him out and exit, and that ends that particular little portion. Again, lots of things going on here. Angelica's not dead. There are two Angelicas in this scene. The
bearded
which is
one?
real. Which is real. So, thoughts from the room. I apologise if you can hear both the helicopter and the barking dog in the background. Yeah, the feds are coming for me. So, that's we're 2/3 of the way through the play, pretty much. We're going to be finishing it tomorrow. Where do we think we are with this play? With another example of Greene that we've done in relatively short order since the last one. This entertainment. What is it? Things you like, things you don't like. Throw them up in the air at me. Wave at me, people.
Haven't got a Scooby.
You haven't got a Scooby. There we are. Liz.
I just wondered whether Orlando is suddenly going to find his sanity, because his speech when he's speaking to Tom, he actually makes sense. It's more poetic the way he's speaking to him. He's not raging.
Yes. Okay. Other predictions as to where we're going from position of ignorance is always fab. Will.
Again, position of ignorance. I love this role. You can see why it made what's his face famous and paid for Dulwich College eventually. But this is reminiscent of Geronimo also, where the madness comes in like this. And I think once you've been tainted by the madness, there's actually no coming back, is there? That's my prediction for it. I just don't think he's going to come back from the edge of the precipice.
No spoilers, people. Other thoughts. The thing about any madness, or for that matter, a comedy, is that it does infect a performance as well. Once you've drunk from the well of madness, it's very difficult as a performer to pull back from that, because it's just so much fun. Sarah.
I wasn't here for the Greene last week, so I know nothing about him. So I wanted to ask, who would he have written this for? Do we know?
Well, this is the Admiral's Men.
Okay.
Well, this is full-on Admiral's Men. This is the Rose.
Well. Initially, there is a confusion, because it looks like he tried to sell it to two people.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So he tries to sell it to Lord Strange's and to the Queen's men, and so it ends up in the repertoire that with other people. So it has a life. It has a journey.
The reason I asked was just because, especially off the back of what you were saying about how once comedy infects something, it's very hard to then pull it back. I wondered, not knowing, I wondered if it was written for Boys' Company, because it's got that kind of slightly anarchic student review quality to it that is just so hilarious, and so that was why I asked, but obviously not. So,
well, we don't know necessarily where. Say it's all a little confused. Dan is waving his hand.
I've actually got to go in a couple minutes, but
yeah.
The professional part of Orlando is believed to be Edward Allen's hand, or I should say annotations were thought to be made in Edward Allen's hand, and it was also found in his personal effects.
Right.
So,
and that's where the question about the Q script, because the Q script is different, and there are different bits of business, so that there might be his version of the part is different to the published, or whatever another actor gets. His business is his business, and he's keeping it because that's what actors do. Other thoughts, Dan? As you're going, any last thoughts on this before we finish it tomorrow?
so happy to be hearing this read out. It's a play I've studied, or just only reading it, but I've never actually heard it. So can't wait. I can see lots of possibilities for a modern production with social media, like you said, with Twitter, projections for when Sacripant is posting up the poetry and whatnot. So anyway. Yeah.
Yes, other thoughts from the room? Alexandra.
Just an observation and a curiosity. At the end of what we've just read, Orlando is attacking a character he believes is female. And the observation is that I can't think of women being subjected to violence, well, other than sexual violence, in plays of this era that I can think of it happening on stage. But I can think of other examples of men dressed as women getting that treatment. And I thought that was strange and interesting, and a bit of a challenge for, again, if we were doing this in a modern production, because our sensibilities have changed.
Well, it's an interesting question there with whether he truly does believe it's her, or whether it's, he's seen through. It's also when we did Tom Tyler and his wife, there's an awful lot of, the beating goes both ways in that the violence does there. But it's an interesting point. And I mean, certainly I found Tom's line particularly vile with the why strike you down the men and then let me alone to thrust in the woman. And Orlando steps in there. So there is a question with that scene as to precisely how much Orlando knows and doesn't know. It says he knows not Angelica, but does he see through Tom? Sure. Claire, I see a hand.
Tom did mention that he had a beard that he should maybe shave. So that might have been a bit of a giveaway for Orlando.
Yeah. David.
Yeah, can I just pick up on what Alexandra suggested, that we don't see women being beaten on stage in the plays of this period. But we do see men pretending to be women being beaten in the plays of this period. Do we think possibly this is because the boy actor who was playing a woman and whose specialism was a woman was such a specialized thing that it was important not to be shown in a way that was more masculine in a violent way? It's like I'm trying to say here, the illusion has to be relieved that actor is a woman.
Well, there's a lot of difference between a boy actor and a big beardy man, No,
don't get me wrong here. This is Alexandra's point, that we don't see women beaten on stage.
I mean, in terms of literally an actual woman as opposed to a character who is a woman.
Yeah, no. So it would be, obviously at the time, it'd be a boy playing a woman. We do not see these boys actors, who are specialist women actors, being beaten. But we do see the idea of the man who's pretending to be a woman, who'd be played by a man, being beaten. And I'm just wondering if it's something to do with the specialism of the boy actor playing a woman in that period.
I don't know, because I'm not really quite sure still precisely the distinction you're making.
I think sorry, David, I'm going to try and interpret this for you.
Go ahead, yeah, thank you.
I think what David's saying is, because the boy actors who played the female parts were so specifically, they played the female parts, they took great pains not to come across as masculine, so therefore they deliberately didn't give them any lines where they were beaten or they beat people, so that the audience might be reminded that they were actually boys dressed as women. So what they did instead, whenever there was a woman being beaten on stage, it wasn't a woman, it was a big burly guy with a beard pretending to be a woman, to distinguish between the two. Have I got that right, David?
Pretty much. I just think, again, I'm trying to back up Alexandra's point. We do not see female characters getting beaten on stage?
Well, I mean, in Tom Tyler we do, and I don't know about whether there are other plays. I worry about that as an absolute
tragedy.
statement.
Right?
Yorkshire Tragedy.
Yeah, I think there are. I think as a blanket statement, I'm not sure that's. I think we're not quite working on correctly, if that makes sense.
No.
Was it not just more to do with the fact that this idea that you didn't beat a woman? Was that not just?
Oh no!
I mean, like if you were a noble, supposedly noble heroic type, which is what Orlando is supposedly supposed to be certainly at the beginning of the play, that you wouldn't.
Well, it's a question of tone. You know, this play at the moment is, you know, most of the tone is light, even when people are getting their legs ripped off. It's like, you know, nobody's going, poor man, this character who has no name, who is presumably dead. I mean, he might have survived, but, you know, he's lost a limb. You know, at no point does this play, even when it's talking about the battlefield and the violence going on there, it doesn't seem to be going for that realism. So the moment you start doing that actually and trying to make that then I think that changes the tone of the piece. In a way that even then I think would have been dramatically awkward. I feel we're going down a rabbit hole on this one. So other thoughts about the play, about the characters, individual. Liz.
Well, I just say it's gone. I just did not expect it to suddenly descend into this riotous. Starting off with the posturing of the kings and furrowing the seas and all this, and then suddenly it's just gone completely crazy. So I shall look forward to how it finishes up.
We have 2 acts to go, and you know, is any of that business with the kings at the beginning? Are they anything other than a MacGuffin to set up the rest of the action?
I don't think they are. I mean, the whole mood changes so completely once you come out of Act 1. It almost feels like 2 completely separate pieces to me.
Other thoughts, Liza?
It is a Frankenstein of a thing, genre-wise. We start off very much echoing Tamburlaine, as people pointed out in that first scene with the setup and the kings and the pageantry and the heroism. Then we move to a sort of, you know, we've got scraps of Marlowe in Sacripant's honor speech. We've got clowns. And then Orlando goes mad, and the play kind of goes mad with him. And I think Greene is relishing this, even if I have no idea whether his audience would have known what to make of it.
Well, there is a question of tone about that opening, is, you know, how, you know, because it has a fairy tale quality to it, actually. We might be overselling the Tamburlaine quality to it. You know, there's something quite light about it. Until everyone gets angry, and emotions do seem to shift very quickly. So maybe we're overselling that opening as a direction.
It's followed up by several scenes that are believable as this is going to be a war play, though.
Well, they're very short. I mean, what follows up, you know, in terms of war play, there's very little there. And then he, you know, uses his honor guards to think about love. Bless him.
There seem to be quite a number of dumb shows as well at significant points, because you get an awful lot of people entering and exiting immediately with no lines whatsoever. I'm just trying to remember where it was. Somewhere in the beginning of Act 2, I think it is.
The battle stuff. Yeah.
There's the battle which enter Rodomont and Brandimart, and then immediately exit again before any word is spoken.
Yes, I mean, there is that slightly different canvas, isn't there? Other thoughts? Silence. Claire, well, we're into extra time, so I'm just going to round up and just go through the room. Claire, as a newbie to this process, how do you find the play? How, you know, any characters that you particularly want to play? That's the other game. As actors, to say, what do you covet?
Man, I think. I have a lot of fun with that. Yeah, it's really, like people have said, it just seems to be hitting all different themes and different genres. And because I'm not used to knowing other plays of this era, are they always so filled with references to classical heroes? Or is this just a Greene thing, or is this just this play?
It tends to crop up quite a lot. I mean, it's usually quite a narrow repertoire of characters, but yeah, they do pop up a lot.
It's a sort of showy offy thing, isn't it? Oh, I've read the classics.
Yeah.
Well, even Man has read the classics.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of dressing up and costuming and playing around with identity as well.
He's a one-shot, two-line character.
Say again, Alexandra. Sorry.
I just said even the soldier on the wall has read the classics, and he's a one-shot, two-line character.
Liz.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether that was because I read that Greene did a lot of satire, so whether all these references to the mythological characters, etc., is just him doing the satirical take on it all. Why that first bit is so heavy on that. It sounds like a send-up in a way when I first read that.
Yes, there is possibly that element to it as well. I think that's a reasonable shout. Valentina, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm quite enjoying this one. I mean, I enjoy them all, but it just makes me laugh. I don't know how much of a farce this would have gone down as, but I'm just enjoying, like it just reminds me of like more comical Kill Bill.
Oh, it's like that. Because that's the question. What do you do with this extreme violence? What do you do with the scene where someone runs on with a leg?
At least they didn't tear it off on stage like they do in Dr. Faustus.
Veronica, any final thoughts?
I like the idea of it just getting more and more crazy as it goes along. However, I have a suspicion that some things will tie up in some way. But it is very enjoyable. I feel like I'd have to see what happens at the end though before I can make comments on the play as a whole, because I don't know where it's at in terms of like what the motifs are and what this all is supposed to mean and symbolize.
I mean, that's the thing, is we may find that there's a very clear structure that this is aiming us towards, and that we're all just like an audience member who's just gone in at the interval. That's where we are. We're at the interval. Going. Yeah. Well, I didn't see that coming. Sarah, do you have any good T-shirt lines for us?
Oh, this play has quite a few good T-shirt lines, but the one I'm picking out, which is perhaps not the obvious one, is "Come hither, my well-nutrimented knave."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a beauty.
You possibly have to be careful where you wore that.
Or not.
William, as Orlando himself, how was that as a process for you?
Well, I've really enjoyed this play, and once again, it's introduced me to. This is the second play of Greene's that I'm reading, and I really like the way that Greene writes. He can write a play.
So, Pamela, I can't see you waving, so I don't know. Are you any final thoughts?
I am still here. Sorry, my internet connection is horrendous. I'm just furious on Angelica's behalf that not one person actually has stood up for her or has thought to ask her what's actually going on. So I'm hoping there's going to be some redemption for her in Act 2. Well, Act 4 or 5.
Yeah. In the second half of the play, will we get more from Angelica? Well, more importantly, will her father, get on his knees and beg forgiveness? He started so well, and he's not exactly endeared himself to us. Any final thoughts from anyone else who I haven't done the rounds for? Liza?
Yeah, just quickly, extreme reactions. Nobody thinks about how they're going to react to anything for more than about 2 seconds, I think. Apart from the Sultan of Egypt in scene 1 saying, no, sorry, not going to go to war for the sake of a woman, very, very possibly because we don't even have enough actors to double that character. I wonder if Angelica might not have doubled Orgalio tangentially. But yeah, my main point, extreme reactions.
Okay, anybody else, any final thoughts before we round this off? Sarah?
This is a very frivolous thing, but just that one scene when Orlando finds the graffiti on the tree, finds the carvings on the tree, it did flash through my mind that if you put that into modern day and flip the genders, you could play that scene beautifully in the ladies' loo of a club. Like where someone comes in and there's all the graffiti on the inside of the cubicle and she sees her man's name there, like with something else, and then she comes out the cubicle and starts shrieking at the attendant and maybe ends up ripping her leg off. Who knows? I don't know. But like when her friend's there trying to calm her down, and then she's saying to the attendant, "What happened? What happened? Did you see them?" And then it just all, it was just like just the writing of it. It just, I thought, oh, that would be so easy to transpose. I don't know if you could do the rest of the play.
I'm thinking you probably could. I mean, if only there was a precedent for changing the gender of Orlando. That is it for the room, unless anyone has any desperate final thoughts. We're going to be completing this play tomorrow, and then we're going to be moving into George Greene, the opening of that, which is another play that we'll have, I'm sure, a lot of fun with. I'd like to thank all the readers, everyone today, for their work, and I'll just say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.